It was canceled after one season. One man put his own money into keeping it alive and turned it into the most-watched television show in the history of the world. At its peak, over 1 billion people tuned in every single week. 1 billion. For a show about lifeguards running on a beach in slow motion. But behind those red swimsuits and that California sunshine were stories that most of the audience never saw coming. A child actor smoking crystal meth on set while his TV dad stood 3 feet away, wondering if something was wrong. A woman whose addiction burned through her career so fast that a doctor told her the infection in her nose had nearly reached her brain. An ex-wife found dead at her home in Los Angeles in March 2025. And the man at the center of all of it, still recovering from surgery, still getting back on his feet, still the only person who believed in this show when every network in America had already given up on it. Here is what really happened to the faces you all remember from Baywatch, and where they are 37 years later. Number 1. David Hasselhoff, as Mitch Buchannon. There was no Baywatch without David Hasselhoff, and that is not a figure of speech. When NBC canceled the show after its first season in 1990, Hasselhoff refused to let it die. He and a small group of partners acquired the rights, secured financing, based largely on his massive popularity in Europe, and brought the show back in syndication in 1991. What happened next was one of the most improbable success stories in the history of television. Baywatch became the most-watched show on the planet. Over 1 billion viewers every week. Hasselhoff holds a Guinness World Record as the most-watched man on television. He did not just star in this show. He built it from the ground up, twice. But here is where it gets really interesting, because the man who held Baywatch together for a decade was quietly losing the battle with alcohol behind the scenes. The drinking had started years earlier. It escalated through the 1990s and into the 2000s. In 2007, a video recorded by his own teenage daughter surfaced online, showing Hasselhoff on the floor of his Las Vegas home, shirtless, trying to eat a hamburger, visibly and severely drunk. His daughter had recorded it deliberately. She wanted him to see himself. She wanted him to understand. "I took the tape because I wanted to be like, look at how you are when you are drunk," she said. "You cannot remember anything, so I want to show you." But suddenly, something happened that 2026 brought into sharp focus, because the year before had already dealt Hasselhoff some of the heaviest blows of his life. In March 2025, his second wife, Pamela Bach, the mother of his 2 daughters, a woman who had been part of his life for over 3 decades, died by suicide at her home in Los Angeles. She was 62 years old. The family asked for privacy, and then, in the months that followed, Hasselhoff's own health began to demand attention: knee replacement surgery, hip surgery. He was photographed in a wheelchair. In April 2026, David Hasselhoff is 73 years old. Reports say he is back at the gym. A Baywatch reboot is filming for Fox, with Hasselhoff expected to play a role. His representatives say he is recovering well and looking ahead. And a new TV series, Off-Roading, is waiting to premiere on Warner Bros. Discovery New Zealand after a long production delay. But if Hasselhoff was the anchor of Baywatch, the woman who turned the show into a global phenomenon arrived 2 seasons in and instantly became the most recognizable face on the planet, because Pamela Anderson came to Baywatch already famous and left it something else entirely. Number 2. Pamela Anderson, as C.J. Parker. She arrived at Baywatch in 1992, already a Playboy cover girl, already a face people recognized. And then the red swimsuit happened, and the slow motion run happened, and C.J. Parker happened. And Pamela Anderson became something the entertainment industry had never quite seen before. International distributors of Baywatch started writing Pamela clauses into their contracts, agreeing to purchase only episodes she appeared in. One actress, one condition. That was the scale of what she meant to the show. But you know what is even crazier? Baywatch was never the full story. Before the beach, she had been discovered in the stands of a Canadian Football League game, her image projected on the stadium screen by a camera operator who just happened to point the lens her way. Before the beach, she had been the tool-time girl on Home Improvement. Before the beach, she had survived a childhood she described in 2014 with devastating candor, sexual abuse that began when she was 6 years old and continued into her teenage years. But suddenly something happened, because in 1995, a videotape of Anderson and her then-husband Tommy Lee was stolen from their home and distributed without their consent. She was 28 years old. What followed was one of the most vicious and sustained media spectacles in modern history. A decade of tabloid coverage that treated her violation as entertainment. Anderson spent years fighting it legally and emotionally. She contracted hepatitis C, which she disclosed publicly in 2002, saying she had contracted it sharing a tattoo needle with Lee. She was cured in 2015 after a new FDA-approved treatment. But there is more. Because in 2023, a Netflix documentary and a memoir allowed Anderson to tell her story herself, for the first time on her own terms. And then, in 2024, she received a Golden Globe nomination for her dramatic performance in The Last Showgirl. And in 2025, she starred alongside Liam Neeson in The Naked Gun and appeared on Broadway in a production of Camino Real. In 2026, Pamela Anderson is 58 years old. She has no makeup, no apologies, and a career that looks nothing like what anyone predicted. But while Pamela Anderson reclaimed her story in public, the woman who played alongside her on the Baywatch beach went quiet. And the reasons why are among the most painfully honest accounts of fame and addiction that the 1990s ever produced. Number 3. Yasmine Bleeth as Caroline Holden. She was the other face of Baywatch. Yasmine Bleeth played Caroline Holden for 4 seasons, the dark-haired counterpart to Pamela Anderson C. J. The one with the blue eyes and the warm screen presence and the kind of natural charisma that makes you believe a person completely. People magazine named her one of its 50 most beautiful people in 1995. She was on the cover of FHM's 100 Sexiest Women every single year, from 1996 to 2001. And on Friends, both Joey and Chandler would stop whatever they were doing the moment Baywatch came on, specifically because Caroline Holden was in it. But here is where it gets really interesting, because Yasmine Bleeth had already lost her mother to breast cancer the year she first appeared on Baywatch. She had taken 8 months off from acting after that loss, barely able to work. She came back because she had to, and for a few years, she was one of the most famous women in the world. And then, in 1998, the cocaine started. By her own account, it began socially. Within months, it had become something else entirely. She dropped from a size 6 to a size 0. She stopped seeing friends. She collapsed at a glamour photo shoot in July 2000. A doctor told her that an infection caused by her drug use had eaten through the inside of her nose and was, if left untreated, on a path toward her brain. But that is not all, because the wake-up call came on September 12, 2001, the day after the worst attack on American soil in modern history. Bleeth veered her car off a Michigan highway onto a median. Police found cocaine in the vehicle. Her hotel room contained more. She pleaded guilty, served 2 years of probation, fulfilled every condition of her sentence, and walked away from Hollywood for good. She met her husband, Paul Cerrito, in rehabilitation. They married in 2002 and have been together ever since, splitting time between Los Angeles and Scottsdale, Arizona. In 2026, Yasmine Bleeth is 57 years old. She has no social media. She gives no interviews. She was photographed running errands in Los Angeles in January 2025, the kind of sighting that still makes headlines because she appears so rarely. She is, by every account that exists, living peacefully and privately. In a 2003 glamour essay she wrote herself, she said consciously, "Trying to stay off drugs is now part of my life, and it always will be." But while Yasmine Bleeth made the decision to disappear, the child actor who played Mitch's son on screen was living a version of that same crisis in real time on set, because Jeremy Jackson was smoking crystal meth during filming, and his TV father was standing right there, looking him in the eyes, asking if he was okay. Number 4. Jeremy Jackson as Hobie Buchannon. He was 10 years old when he beat 3,000 other child actors for the role of Hobie Buchannon, including, reportedly, a young Leonardo DiCaprio. Jeremy Jackson played Mitch's son for 9 seasons, 159 episodes, and became one of the most recognizable young faces of the 1990s. He released albums. He went on European tours. He was inducted into the Young Hollywood Hall of Fame in 1996. And underneath all of it, quietly and then not so quietly, the addiction was building. But you know what is even crazier? In the Hulu documentary After Baywatch Moment in the Sun, which aired in 2024, Jeremy Jackson finally told the complete story. He had been using crystal meth during filming. During the final seasons of Baywatch, the show that had made him famous, he was showing up on set, not having slept for days, running on meth, trying to get through takes while the cameras rolled, and his co-stars stood nearby. David Hasselhoff confronted him once, asked him if he was smoking pot or something. "I could never tell them the truth," Jackson said. What would they think? But there is more, because the years after Baywatch were brutal. Marijuana, cocaine, crystal meth, steroids, human growth hormone injections, multiple arrests. In 2015, he was removed from Celebrity Big Brother after 4 days for sexually harassing a fellow contestant. In 2017, he was sentenced to 270 days in jail, following a stabbing incident in Los Angeles. His former co-star, Nicole Eggert, came to visit him in prison. In 2026, Jeremy Jackson is 45 years old. He runs Jeremy Jackson Fitness, a wellness platform focused on body dysmorphia, anxiety, and depression. He has spoken about his recovery with unusual clarity. Drug addiction and alcoholism is a case of mental sickness, he has said, not about morality, fortitude, or personal character and virtue. He maintains close friendships with several Baywatch cast members. He says he is in remission, but the story of what Baywatch really did to the people inside it belongs. In the end, not to the stars the world watched running on that beach, but to the man who never ran, who stood on the sand in a dark uniform and watched everyone else, and who saw everything coming long before anyone was ready to admit it. Number 5. Alexandra Paul as Stephanie Holden. She was Mitch Buchanan's colleague, his confidant, and for several seasons, the most grounded presence on the entire show. Alexandra Paul played Stephanie Holden for 5 seasons, a character who worked, thought, pushed back, and never once ran purely for the cameras. In a show built largely around image, she brought something else, and the audience noticed, even if the awards voters did not. But here is where it gets really interesting, because Alexandra Paul's life, both during and after Baywatch, was genuinely interesting, in ways the show itself never was. She earned a United Nations honor in 1997 for a documentary she executive produced about human overpopulation. She became a certified health coach. She became a political activist, fighting for animal rights, LGBTQ rights, and environmental causes with a consistency and a seriousness of purpose that put most of Hollywood to shame. She has appeared in over 100 projects since Baywatch ended, including Lifetime films and independent productions. But there is more, because in the 2024 Hulu documentary, Alexandra Paul was one of the most candid voices in the room. She spoke about the conditions on set, the pay, the pressure. She had been involved in the show's production discussions and had been outspoken about what was working and what was not. She was the person who kept showing up. In 2026, Alexandra Paul is 63 years old, still acting, still advocating, still the most prepared person in any room she walks into. But if Alexandra Paul built something durable, the final word on Baywatch belongs to the show itself, the billion viewers, the canceled first season, the one man who believed it was worth saving, and what it cost every single person who put on a red swimsuit and ran. Baywatch was supposed to be simple. Beautiful people, beautiful beach, beautiful California light. Nobody was supposed to look too closely at what was happening underneath all of that. And for a few years, 1 billion people a week did not. They just watched. Some of them rebuilt. Some disappeared. Some are still in recovery. And one of them, the man who saved the show in the first place, who spent his own money to keep it alive, who held it together for a decade while battling his own very private war, is still getting back on his feet in 2026, still looking for the next chapter, still refusing to stop. There is only one original Baywatch, And now you know what it really cost the people who made it.